Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Ditch Decade Diets podcast. I am your host, Lorna, certified food freedom coach and founder of the Ditch Decade Diets Academy. I've spent 10 years in an unhealthy relationship with food, binge eating, over-exercising, and feeling insecure in my body. This podcast is all about helping you get to the root of your food struggles and teaching you how to rewire your brain so you can end binge eating. If you're ready to improve your relationship with food and cultivate more self-love towards yourself and your health, this is the podcast for you. So let's get to it and jump right in. Welcome, you guys. I am doing a Q&A today, so please drop your questions for me. I am in binge eating recovery. What is your advice for late night cravings? This is a really good question. So the first thing that I would say is we have to remember that cravings are not bad. Right? I think for a lot of people, they fear cravings because diet culture tells you, you shouldn't honor your cravings. Cravings are bad. Just drink some water, go to bed early, and cravings aren't bad. Now, if you're having urges to binge late at night, there's a few things that you really want to focus on. So number one, you want to be making sure that you're eating enough throughout the day. So often, a lot of the times people will save up calories or macro hoard because they know that they typically tend to binge at night. So it's like, I can't eat a lot throughout the day because I normally binge late at night. Or if you're so used to binging at night, you might wake up still full from last night's binge, or you might want to try to restrict the next day because it's like, oh, I ate so much last night, I can't eat a lot today. But then that creates more binges. It creates more urges to happen again that night. So the first things first, you need to be making sure that you're eating enough throughout the day. Like that is so incredibly important, eating enough throughout the day. The second thing is you want to be making sure that you're actually enjoying your meals. I remember when I was back in 2018, I enjoy eating healthy, but for me, it was like, I wasn't actually eating what I wanted to eat. And so I would pack my chicken and my broccoli and my sweet potatoes. And I enjoyed that, but I so badly wanted to just have some chocolate or have something sweet. And I never allowed myself to have it during the day. So then when I got home from work, I would literally be driving home from work and I would be literally going into the kitchen ready to binge my face off. So that's honestly two things that I would definitely say. So again, it would be making sure that you're eating enough throughout the day, making sure that you're actually eating what you want throughout the day for sure. And then also don't tell yourself that you can't eat after a certain time. Because the moment that you tell yourself you can't snack at night or you can't eat late at night is literally the moment that a lot of the times it's like you'll have a really big dinner because there's scarcity, right? It's like, if you know that you can't eat after dinner, then you're going to have so I used to say, stop eating at 8:00. And that's the thing. It's like, when you tell yourself you can't eat after 8:00, there's so much scarcity, there's so much fear. And oftentimes it's like you be about the you want to be rebellious. It's like, I can't eat after 7:00. And it's like, well, screw it. I'm just going to do it because I have this urge. And then you feel like you're doing something wrong. So then you can't just have a little snack at night. Like for me, if I was going to eat late at night, I wouldn't just be able to have a small bowl of yogurt or some cereal. It would be 5 bowls of cereal because I felt like I was doing something wrong because I told myself I couldn't eat after 7:00. So it's good that you're eating 3 big meals and you feel full and better. Maybe so think about the foods that you would tend to binge on at night and see if you can add those throughout the day. So again, maybe it's a little bit of chocolate with your lunch or things like that, but it can also just be habitual. So if you're eating enough throughout the day and you know that you don't need any more food, it's just habitual. So it's probably not a craving. It could also be an urge, and you don't want to be giving into your urges. Really good question. Anyone else deal with nighttime binging? It's so common. Binging at night was, something that I used to struggle with as well too. And it was like, even if I was eating enough throughout the day, it was so habitual. It was like I would just come home and literally I would be full. I would have dinner at work and I would drive home, and no matter how full I felt, I would just always eat at night. It was so habitual. It was so on clockworks. So nighttime eating is so extremely common, and you can really just check in with yourself. Like, if I know I'm not hungry, right? I don't need to be eating right now. Like, what do I actually need to do? Am I bored? Am I stressed? Am I tired? Right? Because especially at the end of the day, if you have been go, you might be burnt out, you might be fatigued. And the only thing that you might have energy for at the end of the day is to self-soothe with food. So that's really important as well too. Okay. What other questions do you guys have for me regarding binge eating? Hey, Dawn, I ditched the fad diets and I'm looking to lose 40 pounds. Well, it's great that you ditched fad dieting. Like, that is incredible. And what I always tell my clients that I work with is, when you focus on healing your relationship with food and you're no longer binging, your weight will naturally take care of itself. So it is incredible that you stopped dieting. And now the next step is to really heal your relationship with food and get rid of your urges. Because if you don't have any urges and you're not binging, again, like, your weight will absolutely take care of itself. And which is really, really important. And you're going to feel so much better as well too. Hey, Ellie. Jules is giving me all the hearts. This is amazing. How are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling coming into the new year? How are you guys feeling? I binge all the time. What is my first step to stop? So are you following any rules? Do you have any restrictions? So there's really two main reasons why you binge. The number one reason why you binge is because of restriction. So you are depriving yourself, there's food rules, or there's even mental restriction going on. So you're feeling guilty about eating certain foods. So restriction will cause binge urges 1,000%. If you're depriving yourself, if you're restricting yourself, if you have food rules, I can't eat this, or I'm not allowed to have sugar, I'm not allowed to have chocolate, or I can only have 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, or I can't have peanut butter, that will inevitably lead to binges. But also, it's habitual, you guys. I say this all the time. You guys know I help you guys reprogram your brain. I help you rewire your brain. I have my entire root and rewire process where you get to the root of your binge eating and you rewire your brain, because binge eating is a habit in the brain. You've binged once, you binge again, you binge again, and you binge again. And that creates this habitual cycle. Think about any habit, right? Even good habits, like you make your bed. It's so easy to make your bed now, right? Because you've done it so many times. With binge eating, it's so much easier for you to keep giving into your urges because you kept giving in over and over and over again. So the way that you started binging is through a habit, through repeatedly acting on those urges. And the way that you reprogram your brain is to not act on those urges, right? So that's really important. How do you get rid of the urges? So I have an entire program coming up. It's called Stop the Urge, where I teach you my exact process to get rid of urges. But a few things that I will say here is you've got to practice not giving into your urges. So like I just talked about, when you feel that urge to binge and you give in, you are programming this habit into your brain. You are strengthening those neural pathways in your brain. Your urges become stronger and more intense the more times that you give in, right? And you can even think about the first time that you binged, right? maybe it wasn't that hard for you to not give in. But as you're probably recognizing, as you kept giving into those urges, the urge became stronger and it almost felt impossible. Maybe now it's feeling almost impossible for you to not give in, right? So that's really, you have to not give into your urges. But also things that create urges, again, you're not eating enough, you're having food rules, or you're in a calorie deficit, all those things are going to create urges, right? So when you eat enough throughout the day, you're having satisfying meals, you're not just choosing the lowest calorie option, like you're actually satisfying yourself, you're not depriving yourself. Those are also ways of getting, weakening those urges as well too. I feel ready and motivated. Heck freaking yes. So good. So in terms of intermittent fasting, if you are struggling with your relationship with food and binging, I do not recommend it. There are many health benefits to intermittent fasting, but not for somebody who has an unhealthy relationship with food, not for somebody who has an eating disorder, because the reality is so when you are struggling with your relationship with food, there's already so many rules. And with intermittent fasting, it's like when you tell yourself you can't eat, let's say until 11 a.m., or you have to stop eating after 7 o'clock, what ends up happening is in your mind, you become more obsessive with food. I remember I used to do intermittent fasting and I would wake up in the morning and I'd be hungry at like 7 a.m. And I would force myself to wait until 11 a.m. because I was so hungry, but I was like, I can't mess up. I'm not allowed to eat until 11 a.m. And then so I was dismissing my hunger cues. And when you have an unhealthy relationship with food, you might find that your hunger and fullness cues are muted and blocked. How many of you guys feel like your hunger and fullness cues are completely out of whack, right? So what ends up happening is you don't eat when you're hungry. And then for me, it was like at dinner time, I would have such a big dinner because I knew that I couldn't eat after 7 o'clock. And I would just be binging anyways. And I would be sitting on the couch with my husband. And I'm like, you can't have snacks after 7 o'clock. You can't have snacks. And I would see my husband, have a bowl of oatmeal or have a bowl of cereal or have a snack before bed. And all I thought about was like how badly I just wanted to eat. And it just creates more pressure. It really does. Let's see here. I have the worst sweet tooth. Do you have any tips on stopping it? It feels impossible. Hey, Tay. So really good question. I absolutely have a sweet tooth as well too. Who has a sweet tooth? Drop like a chocolate emoji or drop an emoji down below if you feel like you have a sweet tooth. So there's nothing wrong with having a sweet tooth, but the reality is if you are not honoring your cravings, you're going to feel like you have no control over sweets. When you tell yourself, I can't have chocolate, I can't have cookies, or I can't eat sweets, you want them more and you binge on them even more. So what I actually recommend is you honoring your cravings. The next time you're having something sweet, I actually want you to honor that craving. And for a lot of people, it's like, I can't, Lorna, because I'm already out of control. I don't want to be eating more cookies. But right now you might be binging on cookies because you're not allowing yourself to have them. So the moment that you start allowing yourself, if you're craving a cookie and you just have a cookie, you're going to prevent binging on it, right? So there's that. But also, you have to remind yourself the food is not going anywhere. So often people get into the Last Supper mentality. Drop Last Supper mentality down below. The Last Supper mentality is when you feel like, oh my gosh, this is the opportunity for me to have something sweet. I'm not going to be able to have it tomorrow because I got to get back on track. So you're treating it like it's your last supper. This is the time that, I'm allowing myself to have cookies, so I might as well have the whole box because tomorrow I got to get back on my diet, right? So then it's like you have the whole box. But if you just allowed yourself to have it when you are craving it, there's no scarcity. There's no last supper. It's like, I can have a cookie today. I can have it tomorrow. I can have it the next day, right? So that's what I would say as well too. And then also when it comes to cravings and things like that, your sleep is directly related to cravings. So are you actually prioritizing your sleep? I know it's not a sexy thing. Like, let's be honest, like, oh, I got 8 hours of sleep. Like, people don't recognize how much sleep impacts your cravings. Sleep impacts your sweet tooth. If you're not getting enough sleep at night, your hormones get thrown off, energy gets thrown off. And when you're tired, what do? I need food. I need energy. Let me have something sweet to give me energy. When you really just need, like, maybe you just need a nap, or you need to actually get better quality sleep. So sleep is sleep, 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 sleep is so important. What are your credentials? I am a certified coach. How do you recommend dealing with family members who do not understand or believe in binge eating disorder? So it's actually so funny. I just created a podcast episode. I think the one that went out today. What episode was it? I can't remember what podcast episode we're on, because literally I've been putting out a podcast for you guys every single day. I don't think I can pull it up on my computer right now, but I just put a podcast episode today on the Ditch Decade Diets podcast. And I spoke about how I went to my parents' house, and this was the place that I struggled with my relationship with food for 10 years. And I asked my mom, I said, did you know that I had like problems with food? And she's like, I had no idea. And I was like, I lived with her. And I even told her that like I felt out of control with food, but people who've never experienced binge eating will never get it. And this is why I recommend coaching. This is why clients come to me, because my clients try to explain to their partner, try to explain to their friends. And it's like, you also might not be sharing the full story. So when I told my mom, I wasn't like, hey mom, I eat in secret when you leave. And, I have, a pack of cookies a day. Like, I didn't tell her the full extent. I was like, oh, I tend to eat a lot, and like my stomach hurts when I eat a lot and I feel really guilty. Like, I didn't tell her the full story. And so the person that you're telling might not see like it's that bad, because you're trying to downplay it because you don't want to share the full extent. Like, it's embarrassing. I was so embarrassed. I'm not going to tell my mom that like as soon as she leaves the house, like I'm in the pantry and I'm eating a bunch of things. So this is where a coach like myself can really support you. I have a community of women who are in the same boat. And when you're part of a community that really makes you feel less alone, it is the biggest game changer. You feel seen, you feel understood, you feel like there's so much like reassurance that you're not alone in this, and we get you, right? So, having somebody like myself with lived experience who's now on the other side binge free, it really does help. So I'm just sending you so much love. And I know it can feel so frustrating when you try to explain it and they're like, oh, just don't eat so much, or just watch your portions. And it's like, if only, like, I know that, but I can't do it, right? So I totally get it. And I'm sending you so much love. I binge on chocolate, and the urge is strongest at night, even though I eat my regular meal. So Jasmine, try having chocolate throughout the day. Like, maybe with your lunch, have a piece of chocolate. And the more times you do this, the more chocolate's going to get taken off of a pedestal. And you're like, oh, I can have chocolate during the day. Like, I don't need it at night. Okay. Let's see. I always have to say the food will be there tomorrow. I can eat more tomorrow. Yes, 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 yes. Do you recommend to count calories during our journey to heal our relationship with food? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Calorie counting makes you more obsessed with food. How many of you guys right now think about food 24/7? Down below, who thinks about food 24/7? When you are on your journey and you are binge eating, you probably think about food a lot. You probably think about food a lot, right? Laura says me, Jaden says me, Jasmine, Frankie, Kaliko, Nikki, right? So if you're already thinking about food 24/7, the last thing that you need, yes, Jaden, the last thing that you need is to be plugging your phone into or plugging your food into MyFitnessPal and checking the calories. That's just going to make you think about food so much more. So I definitely do not recommend macro tracking or calorie counting. A lot of the clients that come to me, they try to track their macros and they're like, I literally need to stop because it's just making me more obsessed with food and I can't stick to it. And for me, when I used to track my macros, I could never stick to my macros. Like, exactly. It's so freaking exhausting, right? And you know what? Who's sneaky? Who's sneaky? Okay. Let me know if you did this. I used to track my macros and then I would literally be eating chocolate and not even plugging it into my phone and be like, oh yeah, I stuck to my macros. Bullshit. I did not stick to my macros. I just chose to not plug it into my phone. You know what I mean? And I'm like, sneaky. I'm telling myself that I'm tracking my macros. And that's not true because here I am, a little bit of this. So it's just one extra tablespoon of almond butter. It's just a little few chocolate chips. But the reality is I couldn't stick to macros because I needed to heal my relationship with food. So when you ask, what can I do instead? Heal your relationship with food, build self-trust, get back in tune with your hunger and fullness cues. You got to heal your relationship with food. Okay. You don't need to diet, you guys. I am here to tell you, you don't need to diet. Yes, Laura says, I do that. I count everything, then shove a mouthful of whatever it is. Yeah, because it's like that rebellious part of you is coming out. It's like, I know that if I were to input how much I actually ate in MyFitnessPal, I would be way over. So I'm just not going to bother tracking it. And it's like, you could just eat intuitively and you don't have to plug in your food and you would actually not feel the need to eat so much because you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong, right? So this is all just so, so, so important. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I have a few more minutes here before we have to wrap up. You are coaching around the world. Yes. If you want to work with me, please message me on my Instagram. I have clients in New Zealand, Italy, the UK, States, Canada, all of South Africa. I have clients from all around the world. Kauai. I have a client in Kauai. It's so amazing. Yeah, when I say I have binging, my husband rolls his eyes thinking I'm being dramatic. Yep. And when I went to my doctor and I told my doctor that I was struggling with my relationship with food, he's like, oh, you're just stressed or depressed. And the reality is people might look at you and say, oh, you're fine. But binge eating is not a look. Binge eating is something that happens internally, right? So that's so important. I see you. Can we talk about how depressed I get the day I binge and the day after? I hear you. I remember when I would binge, I used to want the day to be over. I literally would be like, I just want this day to be over. I want this day to be over because I was so bloated. I didn't want to see anyone. I would just be isolated in my house. I wanted the day to be over. And, I just posted on my Instagram today. I said, living a binge-free life I'm so grateful for it because I feel like I have so much time in my day. I went for a walk today and it was so beautiful. I took my time. I'm about to go to a yoga class tonight. I don't have to worry about, oh my God, am I going to be able to go to my yoga class? Like, did I eat too much? Like, you have so much more time, space, and energy in your day when you're not thinking about food all day. You're not worried about how bloated you feel. Like, living a binge-free life is gonna change your life, you guys. It's changed my life, and it literally makes time go by so much slower because you're present. You're present. Let's see here. I don't ever see me binge free. Well, let's change that language because I'm going to give you guys some tough love. Is that okay if I give you guys some tough? If you tell yourself, I can never stop my binge eating, it's not possible for me, that's going to be the reality. When you change your language and you start telling yourself, you know what, I'm going to start to believe that it's possible for me, then you get the right support, you start implementing, you start utilizing the tools like they're going to change your life, because they will. When you think to yourself, oh, nothing's going to work, I can give you the most powerful tools to stop binge eating, but you're like, nothing's going to work, right? When clients come to me and they're binging, like they might feel fear and they're like, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if I'm going to I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of scared, but they're willing to try something different. They're open. They trust the process. And so they utilize the tools. They show up for themselves and they make progress because they believe that it's possible. Believing that it's possible is a huge, huge, huge step. My brain, hey, Erin, my brain all the time trying to count the calories of a meal. It's like I can't control it. So if you're so used to counting calories, and if you've counted macros or calories for a really long time, then your brain is going to automatically be like calculating it in your mind. That will naturally go away as you're healing your relationship with food. So when I was transitioning from tracking calories and macros into intuitive eating, it's like at the beginning when I stopped tracking, I remember this one time I was sitting outside with my mom and she put pistachios and cherries outside. And I was like, okay, how many cherries can I have? What are the I was like mentally tracking in my head, how many pistachios can I eat? You know, what are the macros of the cherries? But that eventually goes away. The more that you eat intuitively and the more you become in tune with your body, and the more trust you have within yourself, the less you're going to be thinking about the calories and the more you're going to be focusing on how certain foods make you feel. Okay. All right, you guys, that is all for today. We are going to wrap up. Thank you for being here. If you are serious about, by the way, if you are ready to heal your relationship with food, can you give me an emoji below? Who here is ready to heal their relationship with food in 2024? Like, declare it down below. Who here is ready? Hey, Ashley. Nikki is ready. Laura. Calico. Jasmine. Molly. Look at all of you badasses. Like, look at all of you badasses. This is incredible. Hi, Yasmin. So for those of you guys who are ready, you can send me a message on Instagram if you're ready. Yes, I'm from Israel. I would talk to you about being my coach. This is so exciting. Yes, if you are looking for support, you can message me on my Instagram. I can share all the different ways that I can support you. I have different programs depending on what you're struggling with, what you need support with. So just message me on my Instagram. I will share all the different programs I have coming up to support you. Do you offer group coaching? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Group coaching is almost all of my programs because there's something so powerful about being surrounded by a community of other badass women who are so freaking ready to heal their relationship with food. Like that literally in and of itself, there's so much reassurance. You're celebrated, you're loved on, you feel less alone. It is a game changer. So absolutely, Erica, you can message me. Oh, this is so exciting. Thank you guys for being here. I'm excited to support all of you guys who are ready. I work with women who are action takers, who are willing to put in the work, who are ready to do this. Like, message me on my Instagram if that is you, because we can do this together. You are so, so, so welcome. Have an incredible rest of your day, you guys, and we will see you soon. Bye.